to help you gain an edge.
He shoots.
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2026 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
Exactly, Stephen A. He's been here for 10 years, and we're still trying to figure him out. The Justin Kenner Show, weekdays at 3 p.m., right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. You want hot takes?
No, I'm not going to apologize to Ryan Day. Everything we said about Ryan Day up into the playoffs was true.
Not bad. Come on, Kenner. You can do better than that.
To be fair, of all the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, Joe Burrow is the least accomplished.
Getting better.
1,000,000%. I 1,000,000% believe that the Dayton Flyers are afraid of the Wright State Raiders. That's why they come up with every excuse in the book not to play them.
There it is. The hottest take of them all. It's the Justin Kenner Show, presented by Frickers, live on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Justin Kenner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. I'm at my breaking point with the Reds. No more excuses. No more cheerleader radio. Last night was the final straw for me as far as that goes. So that's what I'm going to open up with. I'm excited. Coming up here around the corner, Dave Biddle, bucknuts.com. We'll talk about stuff that makes us all happy, college football. In Ohio State, so we'll get to Dave Biddle coming up here in just a little bit. NBA, I thought this was interesting. There's always the talks of LeBron returning to Cleveland, but there's a couple options. The Cavaliers sounds like they are willing to make some drastic changes this offseason to try to capitalize on what they deem to be a championship window. When you see teams like the Knicks win a championship, like for instance, I remember years ago when you watched the Golden State Warriors, who were a 70-plus win team, and they win the championship. No matter how good your roster is, you're like, man, the gap between them and us is so wide, we don't feel like we have a chance. When you watch, when the Cavs had Kyrie and LeBron and Kevin Love and and all that, it's like you see that, and it's like, man, look at the gap between where they're at and where we're at. We have so much ground to cover before we have a legit shot. But when you watch a team like the Knicks, who's a very good team, by the way, but you watch the Knicks, you're like, the Cavs could win a championship. Are the Cavs better than the Knicks? They had a chance to prove it. No, I mean, they got their asses handed to them in that Eastern Conference Finals. But it shows a couple tweaks here and there. The Knicks, no one loved the move of Karl Anthony Towns being traded to New York. I thought that was a strange move. To be honest, I did. I thought Randall was better. I was wrong. That was the move to make. So sometimes, teams make a move that doesn't make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, and ultimately that's the right move. Well, there's a couple moves that are being rumored for the Lakers or for the Cavs that I want everyone to consider before we get to that topic later on. There's a couple options that the Cavs are being rumored to be involved in. They're heavily involved in talks, according to reports, that involve one making a trade for LeBron James and the other a potential trade for Jaylen Brown. But we'll get to that. One of the scenarios that's being thrown out there, rumors, is that the Cavaliers could trade Jared Allen to the Lakers for LeBron. And in that case, you would have Donovan Mitchell, you'd have James Harden, you'd still have Evan Mobley, and now you'd have LeBron James. You would just be without Jared Allen down low. The other trade rumor that's circulating the Cleveland Cavaliers, Evan Mobley to be traded to the Boston Celtics for Jaylen Brown. Once again, and draft picks will be involved, obviously. But, once again, you would still have Donovan Mitchell to pair with Jaylen Brown. You'd have, of course, James Harden to run the point, and with their struggles defensively, Jaylen Brown, one of the best defenders in the National Basketball Association. But you also have Jared Allen. So there's some options that the Cavs are toying with, at least based on these rumors. So we'll get to that coming up in a bit. Let's talk about those Cincinnati Red Legs, shall we? Here's where I'm at with this, because here's what happens when teams start losing. This is where, the majority of the blame starts to go. The blame always goes towards ownership and the bad front office, and then it goes usually towards the manager, and then it stops there. And you guys know me, who have been loyal listeners to the show for years. I am one of those that I am a big believer in. Okay, we thought David Bell couldn't do the job. We thought David Bell couldn't get the job done. We know that Terry Francona is a better manager than David Bell. Now, Terry Francona has led this team to the postseason, but Terry Francona isn't able to get it done with this group, at least as of right now. Have you ever thought that maybe it's not the manager? Have you ever thought that maybe it's not the front office? Have you ever thought that maybe it's the players that are good enough to give you hope and expectations heading into a season? Have you ever thought that maybe, just maybe, it's not Nick Kral's fault that Eugenio Suarez, who hit 48 home runs a season ago, can't hit the ball to the ballpark this season? Is that Nick Kral's fault? Have you ever maybe sat down to think that, okay, it's not Terry Francona's fault that Elly De La Cruz, has a hamstring injury? Have you ever thought that maybe it's not Terry Francona and Nick Kral's fault that, that Hunter Green is always hurt, that Nick Lodolo, every time that cat starts to get rolling, something drastic happens, whether it's a blister or a line drive off a wrist, which we'll talk about in a moment. Have you ever thought about, nothing ever seems to go right for this team, but at the same time, have you ever just sat back and said, it's not Nick Kral's fault that Matt McClain just disappears? I don't think that's Nick Kral's fault. I don't think it's Terry Francona's fault. I don't think it's anybody's fault. There's been so many things that have happened where my anger is now being directed towards, it's not Terry Francona, it's not Nick Krall, it's not the Castellinis. Guys, at some point, you just got to look at the players and they got to be held accountable. At some point, it really does. And I'm not saying be mad at Nick Lodolo for having a line drive off his wrist last night, but I do think you are allowed to be frustrated and say, dude, it's always something. Hunter Green, it's always something. It is. It's always something. Matt McClain, it's always something. Eugenio Suarez, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about, man, I can't believe that Nick Krall brought him in. Guys, if you guys recall, the Pittsburgh Pirates offered Suarez more money. Had Suarez gone to Pittsburgh and not picked Cincinnati, you guys would have been furious that Nick Krall couldn't even get Suarez to return to Cincinnati. There are some players that you just have to look at and say enough is enough. I've been a big Suarez defender. I have lost my patience. I don't blame Nick Krall for going after Eugenio Suarez. I could blame Nick Krall for not being more aggressive to land Kyle Schwarber, but I am not going to get mad at Nick Krall for getting Eugenio Suarez, because there were going to be a lot of teams that were going to go in on Suarez as you got closer and closer to spring training. That's just how that works. Suarez was a near 50 home run hitter a season ago. That was not the wrong choice to go get Eugenio Suarez, especially for the amount of money they paid him. Wasn't a lot. Home run hitter a season ago. They definitely needed that. What's the problem? Not Nick Krall, not Terry Francona. It's Eugenio Suarez. Matt McClain continuously just not being good enough and just not getting better. I mean, you can't put that on Terry Francona. You can't put that on Nick Krall. I mean, these are super talented pieces that just have to figure it out. Because I tell you what, the pitching, I mean, Nick Lodolo was rolling last night before that liner off his wrist. Going up against one of the better teams in baseball, one of the better lineups in baseball. Garcia, who just made his MLB debut in his 30s. I know he gave up. He walked a couple batters and he gave up a run, but he did strike out 3. But Ferguson, who you got in the offseason, came in, did what he was supposed to. Pierce Johnson, who you got in the offseason, did what he's supposed to. Chase Petty, how many opportunities is he going to get and squander them? He squandered opportunities as a starter. He's squandering opportunities out of the bullpen. At some point, Chase Petty is not Nick Krall's fault or Terry Francona's fault. It's just Chase Petty's fault. Eugenio Suarez is not Nick Krall's fault or Terry Francona's fault. He's Eugenio Suarez's fault. Hunter Green always being hurt. That's not Nick Krall or Terry Francona's fault. That's Hunter Green's fault. a Reds analyst, if you will, who I like and respect, although we disagree on a lot because he is so obsessed with those advanced analytics that, we watched a manager lose and not make the playoffs consistently playing the advanced analytical game and had no problem with the team's struggles. But now, because you have an old school manager that's not playing the advanced analytical game, I heard a podcast last night where this individual called Terry Francona a clown. This clown is managing my favorite baseball team. And this is how I know everyone is off their rocker. Because the last time that this fan base thought that they knew more than a Hall of Fame manager, they chased Dusty Baker out of town. And what did Dusty Baker do? He went and he won at every stop, and he won a World Series. Guess what Terry Francona has done? He has won at every stop. But it's a Terry Francona problem? Come on. People who are so obsessed with advanced analytics like to believe that they are smarter than everyone else, but will truly try to look at a man like Terry Francona and say, you don't know baseball, you clown. Are you kidding me? At some point, we have to look at the players and say, you're the freaking problem. The reason that this team had expectations coming into the year is because there were enough interesting players in the lineup to make them. There was enough pieces that they added to the bullpen in the offseason. We knew how good this rotation is. The injury to the bullpen wasn't anybody's fault. That's just something you could be annoyed with, right? The line drive off the wrist. The reason that that's a different category of conversation is because, of course, that's not Nick Lodolo's fault, but my God, dude, it's like it's always something. Hunter Green, it's always something at some point. Like, yes, it's just players. Come on. You're killing us here. Stop acting like you expect Nick Krall to do more than what he always does every year. He has very limited resources. That sucks. I'm not making excuses. It's just the reality of it. Well, look what the Brewers do. There is a small sample size of small market teams who have found the recipe that some of these teams have. But like I said, the only reason you're pissed off is because this team's not living up to expectations. And the only way you have expectations is if you have a GM or a president of baseball operations that has made enough good moves to put the team in position to even have expectations to begin with. If Nick Krall was really bad at his job, we wouldn't even have expected anything from this team in recent years. The reason we expected things out of this team in recent years is because of the moves that Nick Krall has made and the front office has made. They just haven't made enough moves, no doubt. But at the same time, Suarez, you got him because he hit nearly 50 home runs a season ago. There's no magic. It's not like he's an old player. I mean, to sit here, and I never expected him to be Kyle Schwarber by any means, but to sit here and just see the fall off completely this is why they booted his ass out of Cincinnati to begin with. And this is the stuff that drives me nuts. I remember when Suarez was here the first time. I mean, the joke about Suarez was that he was Eugenio 0 for 4, 0 for 5, 0 for 6. The Reds booted him out. Then he started swinging the bat well again. What did everyone say? Nick Krall's a bum. Can't believe they got rid of Eugenio Suarez. Look what he's doing everywhere else. But y'all forget about this. This is what he did when he was here last time. I don't know what it is about not being able to hit when you put a Reds uniform on, but that's not Nick Krall. Nick Krall looked at a team that had, they were one of the worst power hitting teams a season ago, and he said, you know what? We have to go. They were deep into conversations with Kyle Schwarber. Those fell through, and I've criticized that. I said that was soft to not be extra aggressive. But it's not Nick Krall's money. It's ownership's money. That's just the way it is. It's okay. Kyle Schwarber's off the table. We need a power hitter. I don't know. There's a free agent that hit nearly 50 home runs last year. Let's get him. Why was that a bad move by Nick Krall? Why are people mad at Nick Krall for that? Be happy that Nick Krall went to go get someone that nearly hit 50 home runs a season ago, and be mad at the individual that's not doing what he did a season ago. This isn't hard, guys. You're lazy. If you get mad at Terry Francona or you get mad at Nick Krall every time this team does something you don't like, and you don't once look at the player, that's on you. That's like Terry Francona can't manage. You have Reds media calling Terry Francona a clown. That's how down and out Reds media and the fanboys are right now because they think Terry Francona can't manage. Are you kidding? And then here's my favorite. The game has passed him by. Or the players are just playing like butt. There are people who are way smarter than me when it comes to baseball. But you lose that credibility when you say things like Terry Francona is a clown. Are you kidding me? Give me Terry Francona turn things around in Boston. Way more difficult to manage over there, right? Way more difficult. And way more difficult to manage over in Cleveland, who they have a significantly smaller payroll. They do not, invest into their franchise whatsoever, but they do have a very good farm system. But guess what? The Reds, let's not act like their farm system's anything to make fun of. The reason this team has expectations and the reason the reason that you are upset is because you had expectations for this team. And the reason you had expectations for this team is because they had the talent. Not to win a World Series, maybe not to necessarily win the division, but I don't know. This is kind of embarrassing. The fact that you have dominated, pitching-wise, you have dominated the Milwaukee Brewers in back-to-back games, and you're 0-2. From the rotation to the bullpen, you have dominated the Milwaukee Brewers, holding them to 2 runs on back-to-back nights, giving up 4 runs combined in 2 nights, and you're 0-2. So, I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. That's always my thing I love to say. We will see what ends up happening. Last season, every time I'd quit on this team, they'd bounce back. I'm starting to feel less and less confident that this team has that bounce back in them. The text line is open, 937-518-1410. 937-518-1410. Please stop being lazy. And by the way, pointing the finger at Nick Krall. I'm not saying he's not the president of baseball operations or GM of the year, even though Brad Meter's the GM. But I think at some point it's just up to the players. And that's where I'm at. The players have to go out there and do their jobs. And there's just way too many Reds players not doing their job. And that's not because of Nick Krall, and that's not because of Terry Francona. It just isn't. It's not like this roster is a bad roster. The reason I know it's not a bad roster is because there was expectations for this team coming into the season. If we like that year that the Reds lost 98 games a few years ago, we had no expectations for that team. So when that team started losing, it's what we expected. Because there wasn't talent on the team. There was talent on this team. You don't get talent unless your GM adds that said talent. I don't know. 937-518-1410. Call, text. We'll be right back.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment.
Visit mintmobile.com/radio.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. Default terms at mintmobile.com.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Upgrade to a new quality bath remodel in less time with minimal inconvenience and for less money with Bath Creations in as little as 2 days. We do it right. There are a lot of others boasting about bath remodels these days. Well, Bath Creations' expert craftsmanship and customer service speaks for itself. Plus, all first responders, veterans, and active military will save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit our beautiful showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or at mybathcreations.com and upgrade your new bath today.
Cordell Transportation is looking for more weekend warriors. If you have a Class A CDL and would like to make some extra money casually driving weekend daytime routes, then Cordell Transportation is looking for you. Home daily, all loads round trip, no touch freight, and competitive pay. Full-time routes could become available if you're interested. Drive weekends at Cordell Transportation. Apply at CordellTransportation.com or call Ron at 937-277-7271. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Hi, this is Michael, your service manager at Dave Arbogast Buick GMC in Troy, Ohio. I am inviting you to give us an opportunity to earn your business. We have expanded our hours to better meet your needs. We are now open until 6 p.m. during the week and 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. on Saturdays. We service all makes and models. We offer convenient shuttle service as well as pickup and delivery. Please visit us on the web at arbogastbuickgmc.com or in person. Exit 69 on I-75. Look for the giant American flag. I hope to see you soon.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Nobody builds a business without hearing a few reasons it won't work. Too risky, too crowded, too ambitious. But the people who move things forward usually hear those words first. Because growing a business takes more than optimism. It takes nerve, and eventually, a partner built for what's next. That's Next Rodeo. Big thinking, proven creative. For businesses still moving forward. Next Rodeo. The difference between the business you have and the business you want. Meet us at thenextrodeo.com.
Maligned at times while at Kansas for some of his decision-making relative to when he was playing, when he wasn't playing, the interactions with Bill Self. He's, 18, 19 years old? I'm not putting anything on him yet, except for this question, I guess I'll ask. Does he have the right people in his ear?
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
ESPN is now the home of MLB.tv.
Did you really think Pure Talk was just going to sit back and watch America turn 250 years old without doing something awesome to celebrate? Of course not. That's why they're raising $250,000 for America's Warrior Partnership by the end of July. America's Warrior Partnership is on the front line of preventing veteran suicide. They've had extraordinary success, and here's how you can help. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk this month, you'll be invited to round up to support America's Warrior Partnership. No pressure, but if you do, Pure Talk will match your donation dollar for dollar. And to further celebrate 250 years of our extraordinary democratic republic, Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99 a month. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. That's pound 250, say Mike Rowe. And happy birthday to us.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
The Reds have given up 4 runs in combined in games 1 and 2 against the Brewers. They get shut out last night 2-0. Back-to-back outstanding pitching performances by the Reds rotation. Last night, the bullpen had to carry a heavy load of innings with Nick Lodolo going out after 4 innings. Gave up no runs on 2 hits, striking out 6. He was cruel. He had an efficient outing going. He was rolling. But of course, 5 innings had to be carried by the bullpen, and the bullpen came in and did what they did with it. Look, you had Garcia, who's in his 30s. I think he's like 32 years old, making his MLB debut this week, and he goes just under 2 innings, giving up 1 earned run. Unfortunately, he doesn't give up a hit in those 2 innings of work, but he did walk a couple batters, which set him up for failure. But he did strike out 3 of the 6 batters that he faced. But after that, Caleb Ferguson and Pierce Johnson, who the Reds added in the offseason, came in and did what they were supposed to. But it was Chase Petty who gave up the big run there to really make it an insurmountable. It sounds crazy, 2 runs insurmountable. But when you're the Reds offense that has struggled as poorly as they have. Last night, it was the return of Elly De La Cruz after missing a few weeks due to the hamstring injury. 3 at-bats, 0 for 3, striking out twice. Didn't make an impact last night, but to be fair, none of the Reds really did. I mean, a back-to-back nights where the bats just couldn't get going. 2 hits is all the Reds could muster, and that game 2-0 loss. In game 1, when they lost 2-1, they had 2 hits. I mean, the Reds have given up 4 runs in 2 games, and the Reds have had 4 total hits in 2 games, and they've scored 1 run in the 2 games. I mean, it's painful, absolutely painful right now. But as I stated earlier, the frustrating part is every one of you right away wants to point the finger at Nick Krall. And I'm like, the reason I can't get on board with that is I think that's lazy. Point the finger at Suarez. Point the finger at Elly De La Cruz. I don't care that he's, coming back off that injury. Like, he's a star player. Point the finger at the players. At some point, it is the players' responsibility to do their jobs. That's just the reality of it. I don't know what else to say. Like I told you, I heard on a Reds podcast last night, a host who's in love with advanced analytics called Terry Francona a clown. And that's my favorite part is we watched this organization lose for years and years and years with David Bell, who played the advanced analytics game. And it's like that's why the stat nerds drive me nuts. It's because you don't care if your team loses. You just want them to lose playing the advanced analytical game. But what you can't stand is when a team's losing games, not playing the advanced analytical game. It's like that doesn't make any sense. The advanced analytical approach is you tried hard, and that's all that matters. Right? Like, we don't care that you lose, but just make sure you play the right way. That's the advanced analytical approach, by the way. And I'm still rolling with Terry Francona. If you guys, I don't understand why so many people think he's the problem. Part of that podcast last night, and look, I'm not talking bad about anybody. I'm just saying, I just disagree with them. They were making such a big deal about platoons. This team can't hit. And you're upset because Terry Francona is not using a platoon. So now you want 2 butt players getting at bats and opportunities and positions instead of just 1. I mean, the Reds could barely find 1 player, and you want them to have 2 players to attack with a platoon. So now you can. Now you have 2 below average players getting multiple. Stop it with that. The Reds don't need a platoon. The Reds need a freaking player that can go out there and put the damn bat on the ball, put the ball in play, get on base, score some runs, win some damn games. Stop crying about platoons. Oh, the platoon. The Reds need a platoon more. Buzz off with the platoon talk. What are we doing? Platoons. Kiss my platoon. How about that? This team doesn't need 2 players that could barely hit. They just need a player that can hit. Elly, hit. Suarez, do your damn job. McLean, what happened? What happened? Is this like the Reds version of Space Jam? Like you just lost your talent? What's going on? What happened from your rookie year to now? You just forgot how to play. It's ridiculous. Last night, these last 2 nights, these last 2 losses against the Brewers in games 1 and 2, it wasn't a Francona problem. It wasn't a Nick Krall problem. It was guys not doing their job problem. And I'm not talking about non-players, but the players need to do their job. The players need to hit. The players need to play baseball. That's what they're paid to do. Ann Anderson, Ann weighs in. She says, 2 great pitching performances in a row. The Brewers just pitched better. Good pitching beats no hitting every time. The Reds just don't play well against their division opponents. It's crazy. They're 35-26 against all non-NL Central opponents. But now I think they're like 2-16 against the NL Central. You're right, Ann. They can't play. They can't do anything against their division. But I think it's lazy at this point. I do. I think it's very lazy to blame Nick Krall right now because I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. You know, you can be upset that Nick Krall didn't add more, but honestly, could the Reds always use more? No doubt. But Ellie, if he does what he's supposed to, and McClain does what he's supposed to, and Suarez does what he's supposed to, I don't think we're talking about what's not on this roster. I think, Sal Stewart last night, always finds a way. He gets, in game one, I'm sorry, but, game one, didn't get a hit, but he got an RBI, but Sal Stewart, this team has enough. You just have guys that aren't doing their job. It's as simple as that. Sal Stewart last night, 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Sal Stewart striking out 3 times. That's on Terry Francona. That's on Nick Krall. How about Lowe? Lowe was just absolutely striking the leather off the ball when the season started. 0 for 3 again last night. I'm sorry, 1 for 3 last night with 2 strikeouts. I mean, at some point, Eugenio Suarez, 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Noelvi Marte, 2 strikeouts, 0 for 3. I mean, at some point, you got to look at these players and say, it's on you. And it's lazy to blame Terry Francona, who's a legend of the game, a Hall of Famer. To hear that Reds podcaster last night call him a clown tells me everything I need to know about the advanced analytical brain, because you would rather lose with advanced analytics. It was okay when David Bell was losing with advanced analytics, all was hunky-dory. But losing like this, when a Hall of Fame manager who actually knows how to win games, maybe the chef just doesn't have, he doesn't have the ingredients right now. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is. Bottom line is, the last time this fan base thought that they were smarter than the Hall of Fame manager, bad things happened. Not for that Hall of Fame manager, though, for the organization. It's the players. It's the players' problem. The players have to figure it out. And, Nick Krall could be criticized. I guess I'm fine with that before you get to Terry Francona. But, the Reds are lucky to have Terry Francona. The fact that he even gave them the light of day is that was the last big win that the Reds had, to be honest with you. But calling Terry Francona a clown is just cute. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Let's switch gears to college football, please. Dave Biddle, Bucknuts.com. I'll talk about Jim Tressel. They surprised him by, letting him know that he was going to be inducted into the Buckeyes Ring of Honor. Only 2 other coaches in the history of the Buckeyes program are honored in the Ring of Honor, Paul Brown and, of course, Woody Hayes. And now Jim Tressel's name will be added to that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Buckeyes schedule, the hardest schedule in the history of the Buckeyes program. Plus, think of Jim Tressel's 2002 national championship, Urban Meyer's national title in 2014, and then, of course, Ryan Day's championship a few years ago. Which championship was the most impressive of those 3? We'll discuss all of that, plus the ongoing drama with Brendan Sorsby. We'll get to all of that and more when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. We'll be right back.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is, fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, commercial properties. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Meet Keith. He runs a 30-acre ranch. 8 years ago, his knees started giving out.
Climbing a ladder was almost impossible. If I could get down, I have to have something next to me to get up.
Keith's wife had a knee replacement. The recovery was hard and the results, not great. Keith wanted another way.
I won't go under the knife because I believe the body can do whatever it needs to do to heal itself.
Surgery wasn't the answer. QC Kinetics was. They're regenerative treatments. No surgery, no long recovery.
After the first one, the inflammation dropped 90%. Today, my knees are just amazing. I could not do what I've done if I had not gotten treatments to QC Kinetics. I just pray that my physical model continues to go and help other people.
Maybe that's you. Tired of dealing with the joint pain? Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today.
Call QC Kinetics 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Kubota keeps the job site running smoothly with the #1 selling compact excavator lineup in the world. Reliable, capable, and backed by strong dealer support. Stop by today to power up your crew. Right now, bring home select Kubota excavators with 0% financing available or save up to $7,000. Now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimer for full disclaimer.
Stop by Columbus Equipment Company in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see our full line of Kubota construction equipment, or check us out online at columbusequipment.com.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enon. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
Exactly, Stephen A. He's been here for 10 years, and we're still trying to figure him out. The Justin Kenner Show, weekdays at 3 p.m., right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kenner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
Reds, and less Reds starting today. I'm done. I think I'm done. The Reds will win big tonight, and then I'll be back. LA will have a big game. Suarez might have 6 home runs in one game, and then I'll pretend to be back, and then I'll be out. Look, I thought I learned my lesson last year where I checked out on the Reds many times and then bought back in. I feel like we're kind of doing that this year, although I feel like there's been less buyback this time because it's been a lot more drawn out droughts, if you will. But the offensive droughts are painful, especially with the pitching that the Reds are getting. But I'm over that. I want to move over to college football. You know, it's kind of crazy. I feel like football is so far off in the distance, but it's almost July. Ohio State, they kick off the season on September 5th. I mean, we're 2 months and some change away from finally getting to college football season. And anytime we get a chance to talk college football, I always like to bring on Mr. Dave Biddle, Bucknuts 24/7 Sports. Always appreciate his time. It's been a while, Dave. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Good, Justin. Summer's going by too fast as always, because I know it's technically summer just started, but for what we do, man, once Big Ten Media Days hits, and we're about a month away from Big Ten Media Days, that's pretty much the end of summer for us. So, but good to see you, my friend.
Absolutely. Look, so I was watching, your video, one of your lives from earlier this morning that was posted, and goodbye red shirts and 6th-year seniors. I mean, there's been so many changes to the landscape of college athletics. This is another big change, of course. How does this impact college football specifically? And more importantly, what does that really do for Ohio State, which usually if you're with Ohio State that long, probably not a good thing, right? Like, how does this impact programs like Ohio State and college football in general?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on Ohio State, but if anything, it'll benefit Ohio State maybe a little bit because they don't have to worry about if they have a talented freshman. Oh, we got to worry about maybe, redshirting him, even if they don't think he's actually going to be there 5 years. You want that option. Now you don't have to worry about that. It's 5 to play 5. For those who don't know the specifics, it either starts when you enroll as a freshman or when you turn 19, whichever comes first. So it's both 5 to play 5. And there's also basically like an age restriction now. the the times of like 6th-year seniors. Ohio State actually has a couple 7th-year seniors this year with running back Jacoby Jackson, who transferred in from Florida, and tight end Hunter Welsing, who transferred in from Northwestern. Those are going to be a thing of the past. There are 2 exceptions for the men, and that is military service. That would delay it, and you still would only have 5 to play 5, but it would delay the age requirement. And then religious exceptions, like if somebody goes on a Mormon mission, then they would back that up to when they actually enroll, and it wouldn't be the age of 19. And then for women, another restriction would be pregnancy. Those are the only restrictions. People are like, what about medical red shirts? You get 5 to play 5. If you happen to lose 2 years because you get injured, you just lose those 2 years. You don't get an extra year. There's not going to be any 6th-year seniors. So I think it's a good thing for college football and college basketball and all college sports. And if you're a coach, you got to love it because, like I was saying earlier, if you're Ryan Day and there's some of those guys that are kind of on the fence, like, oh, do I try and redshirt them? Or do I go ahead and play them? It should add, if you have these good freshman classes like Ohio State's bringing in, they brought in the largest class they've ever signed with 28 true freshmen this year. Now, if you want to play those guys, you can play them. You don't have to worry about, the red shirting and all that. It is going to be weird, Justin. Certain words are going to leave our lexicon that we've been using our whole lives. Like true freshman's not going to be a thing anymore because there's not a redshirt freshman. So it's just going to be freshman, or maybe it'll just be first year, redshirt senior or 5th-year senior is not going to be a thing anymore. So all these, I wonder if we're going to go with first year, second year, third year, 4th year, 5th year, how we're going to do it. But yeah, true freshmen and things like that are not going to be in our lexicon any longer.
The one that's the most intriguing that you brought up that caught my attention was the injuries. If you're an injury prone type of player, you always had that, well, maybe, they'll, try to file to get an extra season because he missed so many games due to injury. I mean, I do like that it's just kind of cut and dry. There's no exceptions, and it actually probably makes it easier. You talked about just the roster construction, and, sometimes it impacts recruiting. It's like, well, we don't know if we need to recruit that particular position or not because we're waiting on the NCAA to approve or whatever. That's not the case now. But yeah, the injury one, I think, is the most interesting. I think that's where we'll see some of the more bigger storylines of, oh my gosh, 5 years and 3 of those 5 have been missed due to injury. That'll be the most interesting to me.
And I'm sure people will be taking this to court to try and fight that, to try and get a 6th year. But if the NCAA has any teeth, they passed this unanimously. They voted on it on Tuesday, and it was a unanimous vote. So we'll see. I have no doubt that people are going to be taking this to court. I also think since you can't retroactively do it, like let's say like a guy like Bruce Thornton, who's going to get probably drafted tonight in the 2nd round. Let's say he saw that this happened and decided he was going to back out of the NBA draft, which he's not doing. To try and now he can stay for a 5th year. No, you can't retroactively do it. It's only the guys but if you're like let's say a Jermaine Matthews Jr. at Ohio State, who's going to be a senior football player this year, and then this was going to be his last year no matter what. And I think it's going to be his last year no matter what. But in theory, Jermaine Matthews Jr. could now come back for a 5th year at Ohio State, even though he never redshirted, because he's still entering his 4th year. But the guys that have already finished their 4th year cannot do that. So, can't do it retroactively. And you're right, with the injury situation, that is going to be interesting. I'm sure guys are going to take it to court if they've, been injured half their career and want to get a 6th year. And it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, or how that plays out. But it's one of the rare things, Justin, that everybody in college sports seem to be on the same page here. That's a very rare thing these days. Everybody wanted this 5 to play 5, and we finally got it.
Yeah, you talk about it's very rare to have a storyline or a situation where everyone's on the same page. Another situation in college football that everyone seems to be on the same page on was the Brendan Sorsby thing, which is wild. Look, that's a high profile position at quarterback. You're at Texas Tech, played at UC. As big of a storyline as that is, Dave, could you imagine if that was an Ohio State quarterback or an Alabama quarterback? This is a massive story. It's all everyone's talking about, but I feel like, man, it could have been even crazier had this happened at a bigger program. What's your takeaways on the Brendan Sorsby situation? Did all of this play out the way that it should? And were you surprised about the NFL's decision yesterday to say, yeah, about that supplemental draft, maybe next year?
I was surprised about that, Justin. I completely just assumed incorrectly that they would have the supplemental draft. And I even kind of made fun of, what they did with Terrell Pryor and Jim Tressel. Like, is Goodell going to suspend Sorsby? It's like, what? Yeah, basically is what they did. Yeah. I was like, Terrell Pryor, I always thought was ridiculous after he was taking the supplemental draft back in 2011 that he had to serve a suspension. And then Jim Tressel, as an analyst for the Colts, had a service suspension. I'm like, geez. So I thought for sure that they were going to have a supplemental draft, and we were debating where Sorsby was going to be taken. I was saying third round, probably, maybe second. I don't think he would have been a first round. And then this news drops yesterday. I mean, it's the story that keeps on giving. It's been like every week there's been a huge turn in this. And unless you're a diehard or in the media, like guys like us, a lot of these people who are even pretty big college football fans, maybe not the diehards, probably never even heard the name Brendan Sorsby till like about a month ago. Now he's a household name. It's interesting. The whole thing's been so fascinating how Texas Tech was like, we're standing by our man. We're going to die on this hill. And then the Big 12 files that lawsuit that they filed at 1 a.m. And then all of a sudden Texas Tech's like, oh, no, we will accept the terms of our surrender. And they completely just pushed Brendan Sorsby out the door as now has been made public by Mike Florio and many others. And then now he's I think this is the right thing because my gosh, especially guys like grew up like us that grew up like watching the whole Pete Rose situation. I mean, you just can't bet on your team. I mean, that is just, and if he was allowed to play college football or if he was allowed to go to the NFL with no penalty, that would not have been good. So good on the NFL. I'm surprised, but good on the NFL for just saying, no, you're going to just have to sit out this whole year and then enter the regular draft next year.
Yeah, Sorsby being the landmine that he was, with Texas Tech. I've talked to a lot of coaches, more so on the college basketball side than college football, but they said one of the big concerns about the transfer portal is how little time you truly have to vet these athletes. I mean, it's almost like speed dating. I mean, you sit down, you get to know them as fast as you can, knowing there's 10 other teams behind you that are going to talk to him, and you feel the pressure of, well, we need to hurry up and give him an offer now so he doesn't have a chance to talk to those teams. I feel like they're maybe not as high profile as Sorsby, but I feel like there's just so many potential landmines throughout all of college basketball, football. When it comes to the portal, you just don't have time to actually truly vet each and every one of these players. And we're starting to see that. I mean, that's one of the bigger landmines that you'll see. But yeah, I like to say there's landmines all over the place. I'm not surprised. I won't be surprised if we start to see more of these things pop up. These coaches, I think Anthony Grant with the UD, Adam Jai, that situation that popped up. He had a player that transferred over from Iona. He was involved in that investigation. I'm sure the kid's a good kid, all those things, but you have potential landmines coming into your programs. You just don't have time to truly vet these kids.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because you have Sorsby's agent coming out and saying that Cincinnati knew about all this.
Yeah, that part.
The Bearcats knew about all this and they didn't say anything. But yeah, that's a good point because Sorsby or maybe Hoover from TCU, who's now at Indiana. I mean, they were kind of battling to be that number one quarterback in the portal. Sorsby was the number one guy. So you're right. If Texas Tech didn't try and snatch him up, LSU would have tried to, or you name it, Miami, maybe Indiana. That would have been kind of funny, him going back to Indiana since he started his career at Indiana. Yeah. But I guess if you're an Indiana Hoosier fan, you're thinking, thank God we got Josh Hoover and not Brendan Sorsby. But yeah, I mean, you don't have much time. I think Ohio State's done a really good job of navigating it. They had the one real special class where they didn't have many guys, but it was so star-studded. They won the national championship when they brought in Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins and Will Howard and all those guys. But there was only 6 or 7 guys. And then this year they brought in 17 or 18 guys. And so far, so good, but you never know. What if they would have brought in Earl Little Jr.? They didn't really know him that well, and he would have gotten in trouble or something. He didn't. If anything, they're thrilled with Earl Little Jr. and all the guys they got. But yeah, and sometimes there's a case like John Walker, who's at Ohio State, a defensive tackle who transferred from UCF, that they knew really well during the recruiting process. Larry Johnson already knew John Walker and his family, but that's rare. That's not what you're talking about. That's the exception to the rule where you already know the kid. He was, Ohio State finished as the runner-up for John Walker when he stayed home and went to UCF. Now they got him. They already knew the young man. That's the exception to the rule. Usually you don't even know these kids. So you kind of are playing with fire. And I think not necessarily gambling wise, but we're going to see more of this where you don't really know a kid. You spend a bunch of money on him and then bam, the bleep hits the fan.
Dave Biddle, Bucknuts.com, 24/7 Sports, hanging out with us here today. It's the Justin Kinder Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. Other college football news, Buckeye news. I can't believe we've gone 10 minutes into this and really haven't talked to Ohio State, but that changes now. Jim Tressel, obviously one of the best, one of my favorite coaches of all time, but one of the best human beings of all time. It was announced that he's going to join Woody Hayes and Paul Brown in the Buckeyes Ring of Honor. They actually were able to pull off the surprise. And I was listening to Bobby Carpenter earlier. He said it's very difficult to surprise Jim Tressel, but they were able to pull it off. How special is that for the program and for Jim Tressel, a guy that, I mean, it's very rare you have somebody that no one ever has anything bad to say about that individual. Jim Tressel's that guy. Glad to see his name going to be enshrined up in the shoe.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And it was so cool seeing Tress just like absolutely like speechless and shocked. You're right. I mean, he had no idea. And he was pretty much brought to tears. And that, you just don't see that. He's such an unflappable man in all respects. It was really touching to see that. And I'm so happy for him. As he said in the press release, he said he grew up idolizing Paul Brown. He grew up idolizing Woody Hayes. Now he's going to be 3 out of 3 of coaches that are honored inside Ohio Stadium. And you know, I mean, I know Woody won multiple titles. Paul Brown wasn't here for very long because of World War II when he left Ohio State, and then obviously started the Cleveland Browns, and then obviously started the Cincinnati Bengals. Absolute legend. I think Jim Tressel absolutely belongs there. Did he accomplish everything Woody Hayes did? No, he didn't. But what he did was so special. Michigan was owning Ohio State. Michigan had a 10-2-1 record against Ohio State during the John Cooper era. 10-2-1. Tressel comes in, calls his shot with a 310-day speech. I know it wasn't technically a guarantee, Justin, but it pretty much was, and backs it up. Wins that first year in Ann Arbor, and then wins the national title the next year, 2002. Goes 9-1 overall against Michigan. 6 Big Ten championships, 2 other national championship appearances, and even before that, I mean, I don't think people talk about the fact he won 4 national titles, as you know, at Youngstown State at the 1AA level. The man's an absolute legend. Now he's our lieutenant governor, which I find equal parts awesome and hilarious because of his nickname was Senator Tressel, and now I know he's not a senator, but adjacent. I mean, him being the lieutenant governor of our state, I think is really cool. So I can't say enough nice things about Jim Tressel. He was the perfect coach at the perfect time for Ohio State at the turn of the century. And it's going to be so cool seeing that. And they're doing it the opening game, as you know, September 5th against Ball State is when they're going to do it. And that's going to be so cool to see that in the Horseshoe.
Ohio State's had 3 straight coaches win a national championship. Obviously, Jim Tressel, who we just talked about, Urban Meyer, obviously in the 2010s, and then most recently, Ryan Day. Are those Urban Meyer, Ryan Day, with the careers that they've had? Ryan Day's still going and has a chance to do something that Urban and Tressel couldn't do, and that's win a second championship, maybe more. Urban and Day, do you see a day down the road, a year down the road, that both their names are up and enshrined at the shoe?
I do. Yeah, it'll go. You know, if they do it like they did with Tress. So Tress's last year was 2010, and took 16 years to do it. So Urban's last year was 2018. So maybe in like 30 or 2036, maybe we'll get the Urban out. It might not be that specific, but yeah, I think, in a few years we'll get Urbans, and I bet it'll say, obviously 2014 national championship. They'll probably put 2012 undefeated season, and they'll absolutely put 7-0 against Michigan on that bad boy. So Urban's next. Probably, maybe 10 years away, but somewhere around then. And then, yeah, I think Ryan Day, and who knows if Day becomes only the second coach, ever to win multiple national championships here. I mean, that would seal it. I think it's probably already sealed. If you win a national championship as a head coach at Ohio State, you're going to get enshrined in Ohio Stadium. But Urban will be next. And then I do think one day Ryan Day will have his enshrinement as well in the Horseshoe.
Ryan Day, obviously not as popular as Jim Tressel or Urban Meyer. I'm curious, with the masses of Buckeye fans that you interact with every single day, what's the vibe you get that Buckeye fans feel towards Ryan Day? I thought winning that championship would win a lot of them over, and he did win a lot of them over, but just the pulse that I have with my listeners and the way people react to me talking about Ryan Day, there still seems to be, at least with my listeners, a gap still between Buckeye fans and Ryan Day through no fault of his own. But what's your takeaway as far as how the Buckeye fan base feels about Ryan Day? And this is not he shouldn't be the coach. I'm just kind of curious, what did that championship do for the vibe and the feel and the trust between the fan base and Day?
Yeah, I think, and Buckeye Nation is so vast, as you know, so it's hard to paint with a broad brush. Yeah. But I think the vast majority of Ohio State fans are thrilled with him and would give him an A grade if they had to grade. And here's the national championship changed everything, and then furthermore, then getting the Michigan monkey pretty much off his back. I know he won the first year, 2019, in Ann Arbor, but then Michigan had won 4 straight. And we all know what kind of went into some of those, especially 2022 is the one that I'm kind of like, when they knew every play, they were calling them out. But still, I mean, the fact of the matter is they had lost 4 straight. So winning the national championship and then going to Ann Arbor this past year and winning that game 27-9, I think his approval rating is maybe not through the roof, as you mentioned, like maybe not as popular as a Jim Tressel or an Urban Meyer, but he's approaching that. And I think another thing that really helps, I don't know if helps is the right word. It probably wouldn't matter, but everybody I talk to, Justin, who's an Ohio State fan, pretty much says they think Ryan Day's a great man. And I would concur with that. It's not an act. He really is a good person. He's a real guy. I like that his, every coach has a charitable arm that they kind of reach out, and his is mental health. And I think that's so good, especially for football. If he can help break the stigma for these tough football players to say at times, I got to get my mental health where it needs to be. I think that's so cool. And he's just a good person. He's fun to deal with in the media. And I think he's a really, really good coach for Ohio State. And I was skeptical a little bit. I thought he was, I was skeptical when he was first hired because they didn't even do a search, and he'd never been a head coach at any level. And Ohio State's going to be your first head coaching job. And he'd only been at Ohio State as an assistant for 2 years. So, but that was a great move by Gene Smith and the boosters that were behind it as well. And you got to give Urban a lot of credit. I mean, Urban's the one that brought him here. And it's definitely helped Ryan Day that he had the infrastructure, that he was able to keep, if not the best, one of the best GMs in college football, even though he wasn't GM at the time, that wasn't the title, and Mark Pantoni, and one of the best strength coaches in Mickey Marotti. Having that infrastructure in place when Urban left was huge for Ryan Day. But I think Ryan Day has done a great job with the culture at Ohio State, the recruiting, and winning that national championship changed everything for sure.
Dave Biddle with us. Last thing here. So we've had this debate. Kevin and I had this debate on the show a couple weeks ago. Byers and I had this debate on the show. Tressel's national championship against Miami. You have Urban's national championship run where you beat Alabama and, of course, go on to beat Oregon. And then Ryan Day's championship run, which was, of course, Tennessee. Then you got to beat Oregon in the Rose Bowl, Texas, and then Notre Dame. 3 coaches, all with 1 national championship at Ohio State. Which national championship was the most impressive? All 3 are so vastly different, but which one do you think is the most? Who has the most impressive national championship, in your opinion?
The most impressive might be, it's so tough. It's so tough to say because they're all impressive. But like 2024 was impressive in its own way because you had to win those 4 games against 4 really good teams. And then 2014 was impressive because you go down, you slay the Dragon in Alabama, and then they were even 6.5-point underdogs against Oregon in the national championship game. Nobody talks about that, and they beat Oregon. I got to go with 2002. They're all impressive, and you can make a salient argument for any of them. The reason 2002 stands out is because all of us that grew up as diehard Buckeye fans, let's say you were born anytime, I don't know, from 1970 on, we grew up, and then especially if you missed the 10-year war, there were some pretty down years for the Buckeyes. Like the first basically 5 years of the Cooper era, they were not good from 88 to 92. We had never seen a national championship like those of us like in our generation. So 2002 got that monkey off the back and won one in 34 years, really, because Ohio State claims the 1970 national championship, but they should. They lost to a very mediocre Stanford team in the Rose Bowl, and it's just because the football writers gave them the national championship before the Rose Bowl that year that they even had the national title. But really, 68 was their last true national championship. Going 34 years without one, for all of us that grew up and just wanting to see that one time in our lives, maybe if you had told us then we were going to see 3 national championships, we'd be like, you're crazy. But that I'd have to go with 2002 just because it ended that 34-year streak of no natties for Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, especially that because it was almost the turnaround, as you mentioned. I said Ryan Day's, yes, because of the tough teams he had to play. I said the Michigan loss is why that was the most impressive championship because he had to get them to bounce back and not just bounce back to go win 1 or 2 games, but to have to 4 games after. And I just remember that ghosted look he had on his face after that Michigan loss with all the chaos going on around him. And somehow that guy got that team to buy back in for them to go on that run. But no, all are impressive, but I've always curious people's takes on that. I said that was the last thing. This is the last thing on the way out. Ohio State. I mean, what a schedule they have coming up this season. And the fact that you're playing at Texas, of course, you're playing at Indiana, at USC, Oregon, and of course, Michigan. Is this the toughest schedule in the history of Ohio State football, in your opinion?
It sure looks like it. Like we'll find out. I know things can change. Like even last year, we thought not to this extent. We thought last year's schedule was tough, and then things happened. Like James Franklin got fired before Penn State even came to town. So you never know. But I've never seen anything like this. I think 6 of those teams are going to begin the year ranked, and 3 of them very high in Texas, Oregon, and Indiana. Everybody has them in the top 5 along with Ohio State, and then you still have. Michigan's going to be ranked. You play at USC, they'll be ranked. A lot of people have USC like ranked somewhere around 12th. I agree with that. Lincoln Riley can't field a competent defense to save his life, but man, I like their quarterback, Jaden Mayava. And one thing Lincoln Riley can do is coach up Heisman-winning quarterbacks. I think this is the best roster he's had at USC. So that'll be a dangerous game. Ohio State has to play at Iowa. I think that's going to be the 6th team that's ranked. Illinois is not going to be a pushover. I think the only gimmies on the schedule are the 2 MAC teams, Ball State and Kent State, and then Maryland and Northwestern. I think any other game, even at Nebraska is not going to be a gimme. So, yeah, man, you've got 6 really tough games. I guess 3 marquee games. Well, 4. You got to say Michigan's a marquee game too. And furthermore, you're not just going to Texas. You're going to Texas when they're going to be playing with their pants on fire because Ohio State beat them in the national semifinals in 2024, then turn around and beat them in Texas's very next game in the opener last year. So Texas is going to be ready for revenge, and this is a very talented Texas team playing at home. Yeah, man, I've never seen anything like this. I'll be very surprised, Justin, if when the dust settles, we're not saying, oh, this was the toughest schedule for Ohio State. I don't think it's going to be a case where we're saying, oh, we thought it was going to be tough. It ended up just being kind of tough. This looks like a brutal schedule to me.
Julian saying 3 interceptions, 2 touchdowns in the final 2 games of last season after a phenomenal regular season. Any concern about the quarterback situation heading into the season?
I'm not concerned about it. I understand the way it ended, how people might be concerned, and he was even tailing off a little bit before that, had the ended up playing well against Michigan, but had that bad interception to begin the Michigan game, and then did not play well against Indiana and Miami. And I think there were a myriad factors why he didn't look good. Offensive line getting their butts kicked was a big factor. Julian looked shook. He was a factor. And I think the whole Brian Hartline situation with offensive coordinator and that timing was awful. So they were a little bit in disarray. So I think coaching was a problem. I think Julian was a problem. I think the O-line was a problem. And even the running backs blocking was a problem. I'm not concerned about it because I think now with 14 starts under his belt, and going into his 3rd year sophomore season, are we even going to say that now? His junior season. I think he's going to have a big year. And I think this offensive line, even though they struggled those last 2 games against fantastic defensive lines, they got their butts kicked. But I think with the experience they have and the depth, I think the offensive line is going to be good. And I think Julian's going to take that next step this year and not just be accurate, but be a little more aggressive down the field, not check down quite as much. And you just can't teach his accuracy and his release. I mean, he's got such a quick release. He's so accurate with the ball. I think we're going to see him take that next step this year. And he was a Heisman finalist last year as a redshirt freshman. So I think the Buckeyes are in good hands, very good hands at quarterback.
Dave Biddle, Bucknuts.com, 24/7 Sports. Every time I say one more question, there's always 3 after. That's bad on my part, but I am done. And there's actually questions I didn't even get to, but I'm sure we'll touch base before the season gets here. I always appreciate you coming on and always great catching up. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it, man.
All right. More of the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. We'll be right back.
He's so accurate with the ball. I think we're going to see him take that next step this year. And he was a Heisman finalist last year as a redshirt freshman. So I think the Buckeyes are in good hands, very good hands at quarterback.
Dave Biddle, Bucknuts.com, 24/7 Sports. Every time I say one more question, there's always 3 after. That's bad on my part, but I am done. And there's actually questions I didn't even get to, but I'm sure we'll touch base before the season gets here. I always appreciate you coming on and always great catching up. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it, man.
All right. More of the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. We'll be right back.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The forecast: increasing clouds, 63 tonight. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in 83. Rain in 80 on Friday. Rick Schrepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Progressive Insurance can protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance. Visit Progressive.com.
Hi, I'm Josie. My daughter turns 5 today. Blow out the candles. I'm also an Ohio State Highway Patrol trooper. When you move over and slow down, you're not only giving me room to work, you're making sure I can get home to celebrate with my daughter.
Roadside workers have lives and families, but when they're on the job, they put it all on the line to protect and serve us. When you see flashing lights, remember, they're not just roadside workers. Thank you for moving over and slowing down.
Brought to you by ODOT, USDOT, NHTSA, and ODPS.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Babbel proudly presents The Poison Gift.
Derek, hi.
Hi, I got you something. Ein bisschen Gift.
Gift? Ist das Gift?
Ja, ist das Gift. Für dich.
If you buy her a gift, don't tell her it's poison. Use Babbel. Practice with Babbel's guided conversations based on real situations. Get up to 50% off on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Hi, how can I help? Well, my husband and I feel like we've outgrown our current money manager. I see. Our lives have changed, and we need something more than just mutual funds to help us in retirement.
She's right.
I hear that often. At Fisher Investments, we'd start by getting to know you, your finances, family, health, lifestyle. We tailor a portfolio around your goals and needs.
Sounds good.
Can you help with estate planning? Yes. We have a team of specialists who can help you with estate planning, Social Security, investment income, and more. We'll get to know your whole financial picture and help keep you on the path to a comfortable retirement.
And your fees?
We have a simple, transparent fee that's a percentage of the value of your portfolio. So we do better when you do better. I feel better already. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com/different. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Swing by Frickers today and treat yourself to our irresistible ribs and chunks special. Enjoy tender, saucy ribs grilled to perfection, paired with your choice of frickin' chicken chunks, boneless wings, or traditional wings, plus homemade slaw, your favorite side, and a roll, all for just $16.99. Don't forget, kids eat free all day, every day at Frickers. So bring the whole family for great food, family fun, and all the sports action you crave. At your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Upgrade to a new